Hey Grace, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, you're based in San Francisco at the moment.
The Bay Area, yes.
Nice. How are you finding? Oh, excuse me, permanently. We had a conversation before. Permanently, you're based there.
Yes, permanently.
Yeah. And how do you find it? You mentioned it's competitive and
Um, I find it's like very mentally stimulating because of like every day you're learning about something new. And I would say like you can learn about something in tech every day. And I like that. A lot of people absolutely hate the experience of like meeting the same type of people every day. I get joy from it. Like I love the fact that like everybody's so into tech. So like there's so much synergy or like collaboration that could be happening in one city.
yeah, yeah, that's amazing. It seems like such a hub for technology, for people's careers, and also
Mhm.
entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, exactly. You forgot the word AI.
Yeah, excuse me, AI. That seems to be popping up everywhere at the moment. AI
Exactly.
is a massive, yeah, there's a massive shift towards artificial intelligence, and it's super exciting to see where it's going. If you, before we get into the entire show, is there anything top of mind for you around AI? Is there one to three things, or just one thing top of mind that's,
Wow. Literally everything. So the agentic AI side of things, the memory layer, the context layer, vertical SaaS, like vertical AI. There's no vertical SaaS anymore because it's AI. So people, yeah, I don't know. Like, is this a time that I start sharing AI trends, or like, what is a plot here?
yeah, yeah, it's super interesting. I even noticed that we briefly talked about Ford Motor Company. They're even shifting into AI, and it seems like most businesses or a lot of businesses are looking that direction.
For sure.
Perfect. Well, I'll get into the show. For those of you who don't know, Grace Gong, there's a number of things which we'll get into. I'm just going to use Gemini for a sec and then go over to your LinkedIn if that's okay, Grace.
Go for it.
Perfect. Grace Gong is a prominent entrepreneur, venture capital expert, and media personality, most widely recognized as a LinkedIn top voice in finance. You can find her official profile at linkedin.com/in/Grace Gong. So, who is Grace Gong? Founder and host. She leads Smart Venture Media and hosts the Smart Venture podcast, a top rated show where she interviews Silicon Valley's elite, including C suite executives from Google, Meta, Amazon, as well as Midas lists investors and unicorn founders. Have I got that correct?
Yes, I like how you pronounce the Midas list, but
Midas, excuse me.
no, it's like I think it's a localization of the word, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ex venture capitalist. Before moving into media, she worked in venture capital and private equity, giving her the quote inside end quote perspective she uses to demystify the industry for her audience. Best-selling author, she authored How to Be a VC, which reached the number one in venture capital category on Amazon. LinkedIn influence with over 50,000 followers and millions of annual impressions. She is considered a leading authority on quote breaking into VC, end quote, startup branding and tech career paths. That's
wow, Gemini. I
yeah,
am
yeah, 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 yeah.
so impressed and so flattered.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's also a bit more. What she shares on LinkedIn. Grace is highly active and typically posts about venture capital trends, insights into fundraising, and current state of the market, AI and innovation, deep dives into how AI is shifting the startup landscape, career advice, practical tips for aspiring investors and founders, podcast highlights, key takeaways from her interviews with high profile tech leaders.
Wow. Okay. I have no words. I'm
Yeah,
just so impressed by Gemini. I'm like, wow, good job me on the GEO.
yeah, it's great.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, it's great.
thank
And
you.
then if we can get into your LinkedIn bio as well. There seems to be a lot
Oh,
of.
I think we have enough, but
Okay, perfect,
yeah.
brilliant. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Perfect. But I'd love to know, Grace, if if we've talked about your current what you're doing. It's very
Mhm.
impressive and what you're sharing on
Thank you.
LinkedIn. I would also, no worries. I'd love to know your background in maybe growing up, if you would open to sharing that. Uh, I'd love to know a bit about what that was like and your journey in school and then university and going into VC.
For sure. So I came to the US as an well, sorry, as an entrepreneur. No, I came to the US as an international student. So like I didn't really know many people in the US, and when I first like moved to Silicon Valley, I started meeting a lot of like really well-known tech people, and my friends who are like going to school locally in the Bay Area would just meet these like high-profile executive or like VCs on their campus, instead of like, when I was in school, I never had that kind of experience because of like our school is like now geographically located in Silicon Valley. And I always had the passion for like entrepreneurship and tech, and I really wanted to advance my career. So I started the podcast to well, no, actually, I was like working at a real estate private equity job before that. But during that time, I started like, meeting people in the Bay Area because my job was like located in Silicon Valley. So I started having the realization of, when people like my younger self would probably not meet these people face to face anytime soon. So I wanted to create that kind of experience for people around the globe. So I started podcasting. I interviewed some of these like really amazing executives, founders, and tech leaders in Silicon Valley. And fast forward to today, we are top 1.5% among 3.5 million podcasts globally. We have featured like C-level VPs of Google, Meta, Amazon, Snowflake, NVIDIA, a lot of big tech companies, as well as like partner from Sequoia, ACNC, Lightspeed, Bessemer, and yeah, a lot of like well-known tech VC firms, as well as like founder of Square, Loom, Cruise, Glean, Craigslist, a lot of like really top-notch founders as well. So I feel like my core belief is like I wanted to help people make better business decisions, because I think business is the fundamental of everybody's life every day, because you spend, let's call it like 8 hours of working every day, and essentially I think it just makes a huge difference for you day to day. So basically that's how I started the podcast and why I kind of like started the podcast.
Brilliant. Thanks for sharing that, Grace. And excuse me, I think just someone walked in the room there. I had to just mention it. But yeah, it's fascinating. Do you find the podcast is, when you were in VC, was the podcast for mainly for your book, or did you want it to start it as a way to share your experience about careers and business, or business and careers?
I think like I'm just personally like I feel like I'm a curious person, so I'm constantly in the hunt of like learning from really brilliant people. And it was not necessarily like a straight up like book promotion or anything. It's more towards, I think we did have a lot of people from the book who eventually become like our podcast guests. Um, but I would say it's more towards like a new set of like knowledge, and then like just like literally having a different format to like spread around the globe, because nowadays like I feel like a lot of people are more leaning towards like listening, the audio or the video part of the media, because that's like easier for people to digest. So basically that's how I kind of like made the switch.
Yeah, that's great. It seems like you've a wonderful background as well with the mic and the studio. Is it something that you had to invest a lot of money in for to get to where you're at today with all the equipment and?
This is actually a word, or like a so I went like a second place in like a women podcasting award, and then Shore sent this microphone, this tailored towards my podcast color actually. So yeah, I would say I started with spending maybe like $20 or something on Amazon. I bought my first mic on Amazon, and I was just like using the same laptop for like 4 years until like maybe last year or like the year before I changed to like a new laptop, because my laptop like literally crashed physically. Otherwise I would not change anything. Yeah, I would say like I feel like I have very minimal investment in this thing. But like I
Yeah,
invest a lot of my time, I would say.
yeah. Do you find that it's the time that you've invested into into your podcast has come back in in particular ways, or is there one way that it's come back, or a lot of do you get
I
energy
think
from it, or excuse me?
I would say like podcasting is definitely a great way to for a lot of people is like reaching the new people and then like meeting new people. But for me, a lot of them is like staying in touch with people, just because like I think because my career in venture capital and then my career living in Silicon Valley, a lot of times I would be able to just meet these people face to face at like an event or at dinner or something. But I think it's an extension of our conversation because a lot of times you wouldn't be able to go deep into the business side of things. So I feel like for me, a lot of times it's like going deeper into it. And then for the audience, I feel like a lot of it's like my thought on like, there's like an old saying of like spending time with, you are like the most like average five people that you spend the most time with. I think that can be translated into like spending time with people online, right? So like you're kind of like syncing brain with people that are like the kind of like knowledge that you consume, right? Let's say you are like every day you are having like mental diet from everything that you consume. You could be consuming BuzzFeed every day. You could be consuming like on X, you just read random memes or whatever. But like you can also be intentional about it. You can consume like a podcast that's about a specific subject expertise. You could consume like a PhD article. You can consume like anything else basically.
Yeah, that's wonderful. The five people you spend your most time with online as well.
Yeah, so that's how I kind of like think about it basically. What about you? Since you have like consume, I another thing is like I feel like about because I was like just browsing through your podcast, right? You're podcasting like what every day, or like wow, you are podcasting like five times a day. Like I
Yeah,
think I think it
yeah, and
forced you to like consume stuff to so you have the output, right?
yeah, initially it was weekly, and then decided to move the daily over the last number of weeks before I was transitioned to Sydney, where I'm based now. I was just decided to do it daily. I had the time and had a number of ideas that I wanted to talk about, and it seemed to go well. Lots of people enjoyed it, and yeah. So the daily effort is something that I dropped off when I moved here. Not gonna lie, I tried to, but just didn't have there was too much going on,
Mhm.
and I didn't prioritize it. I thought I'd just enjoy my time. So I took a week off from the podcast, but thankfully it's all good now. Thankfully back
Mhm.
to almost daily, if not daily
Mhm.
effort. And I
Mhm.
find that I'm sure it will eventually slow down to weekly, but I find that doing it on a day by day basis is a great way of getting it started and meeting people. And that five people you spend the most time with, it's a great way of getting to know and
Mhm.
others, and especially people in the business careers and
Mhm.
technology space, which
Mhm.
business at the moment. So, but yeah.
For sure. Yeah, wait, tell me more about like so what are you doing with these like Ford Motor or something? Is this like a choir style podcast? Just like you just like summarize like how they make money or something?
Yeah, so the yesterday was Australia Day, and
Australia Day?
yeah, which is
Wow. You have a day for your own country?
yeah. Well, I'm from Ireland, but yeah, there's a day in
Wait, why are
Australia.
you in Australia?
I'm here on a working holiday visa, so I was
Oh.
previously in from Ireland, but I decided to move here to Sydney.
Oh, okay. Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
So like just by choice, you
yeah,
decided to
just by
just move.
choice. Yeah, by choice and free will. Yeah. Applied and
Okay.
yeah. Well, by choice. Excuse me. Yes, yeah,
Free will.
Yeah, excuse me. That may be yeah. By
Yeah,
choice.
very
Yeah. It's
cool.
great. It's January and the sun outside, and I can't really complain. So
Nice.
yeah.
Go you.
Thanks, Emil. Yeah. But I'd love to know, Grace, if you don't mind, to get into a little bit about venture capital as well.
Hmm.
I'd love to know if someone is listening out there and they have this is their first time hearing about venture capital. How would you explain it to them?
So, this if this is like someone's first time, okay, let me just put it in like a very simple way, right? So, venture capital is a category of capital that's basically um investing in hyper growth startups. Um, what that meant is like in the past, like a business may take like 100 years to grow into something, not 100 years, but like take many years to grow into like a huge business. But venture capital is investing in the hyper growth phase of that startup. So essentially, think Uber. It is a business that take over the entire taxi industry. It may take the entire taxi industry, 50 years to um, evolve into what it is today, as like everybody kind of like just call it cab. But it took Uber like 10 years or something. And essentially, if, people investing in that to generate a 10x or like more return. So basically, there's value creation in this type of fast growing business. So you invest in them when they are small, and you can gain outsized return by taking outsized risk, because 99% of like the startup that don't really succeed. And if you succeed, you really succeed huge. So essentially, it's like you putting in X amount of money and then watching the money to grow into something like 100x. Uh, or I think it's rare to grow into 100x, but like, you got the sense of like outsized return, not like, you put it in a bank and then you got like, I don't know, 1% return or something like that.
Yes, that's great to know. Excuse me, my mic was on mute there, but that's great to know. It's about almost hyper growth startups and funding them to 10x or to 100x. I, I've heard, and forgive me if I'm wrong here, that venture capital is there's notoriously a lot of people trying to get access to it.
Hmm.
Is that there's a lot of businesses out there that are sending out emails or people are contacting different companies for funding
Yeah.
and
I forgot to say on the startup and basically, okay, so I'm gonna give like a history of like the venture capital, or like the metaphor of venture capital. So, um, venture capital is like essentially the at the beginning it is kind of like the ultra rich kind of sports, because of its kind of a type of asset that just particularly that's like very high risk, right? So people compare to that with like whales. So like in the past, like there is people who will go whale hunting, and like people would essentially like pay specific people because they know who have the best boat, who is like the best uh like skill to hunt the whale and stuff like that. So like basically people would pay these people to identify which boat will actually get the whale. And essentially that's kind of how it was kind of like compared to. So in terms of like from the startup end, why do people take the venture capital money is essentially they are, instead of taking a debt, they are taking on a lot less kind of like risk, but they're taking a lot of risk in terms of like the opportunity cost, because they probably can get a job at Google or get a job at somewhere that pays really well. But instead of taking a debt, they will be able to take venture capital money to help them grow faster. And in terms of venture capital money, I think like people are looking for outsized returns, meaning you have to hit like $100 million ARR one day. Nowadays, the benchmark is even higher. You have to hit like $500 million ARR one day, to become a unicorn, to have the really outsized exit, basically.
yeah, yeah, that's fascinating. Rather than getting a job in maybe Google or Meta, they go for the venture capital route.
I would also
Or is it?
say like I think most people go for like the startup route. They're trying to raise money and then they're trying to kind of like grow something big really fast. But a lot of people's product is actually not venture scalable. Meaning, let's say if you have like a Shopify store, you're trying to sell stocks, right? Like, so I would say the most profitable sector, or like the most venture backable sector historically, have been like software, because of it, you build once and then you sell like 100 times. The cost of like hosting it or like managing it or like essentially maintaining the status or of the software's capability is, you build once and you sell 10 times or 100 times. Then for example, something like a stocks, your profit margin is super low, and then you have to build a distribution channel, and then it's just very hard to achieve the venture size return. It's hard to for you to like 100x that. If you then that meaning you have to build a factory, you have to actually manufacturing the stocks, you have to purchase the equipment, purchase the material. It's very capital intensive and very, I would say, it's kind of like it's very hard to go 1 to 100 like in you know a really short amount of time, basically.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Something that's 100x is that the one thing you'd look for with regards to a business model for venture capital?
I think depends on which round of investor you're in. The more later stage you are more looking at like a more, I would say, less like acts of return. So for example, let's say like at the beginning when you are, I think there's like two sides of the things. I'm sorry, I'm like so unrehearsed, but I'm just like brainstorming. So there's like two sides of things, right? So like for an early stage investor, like for example, I started my career in so like when I was working in venture capital, it's different than if I'm an angel investor. As an angel investor, I just primarily focus on like, will this deal will be able to get to the next round? A lot of the early stage venture capital too. So like they are focusing on like, well, this ideally the most ideal case scenario is like everybody's reaching like $100 million ARR, and then they win for like IPO at some point, and everybody just like cash out from there. But or your exit is like essentially you just like IPO. That's like the most ideal exit for people. But if you're doing um if you're like doing angel investing, or like if you're like an early stage investor, a lot of times people's benchmark is like, are you able to raise the next round? That's something me personally as an angel, I will focus on like a few things. One is like, are you able to raise the next round from other investors later on, right? AKA your sales ability. And then the other part is like, do you really have like a technology moat that could sustain yourself in the next like few years? So technology moat, I feel like nowadays because of its AI, so it's harder to have like a really long-term moat because everybody's processing really fast. Like, you can build a moat, but it's more likely it won't be longer than call it like 6 months or so. Your competitor will just be able to straight up copy whatever you're doing. So, um, yeah, that's like basically the TLDR on this.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. There's so much to uncover. The fact that you mentioned 100x is probably the startup or the right company for venture capital. You mentioned that it's hard to build a moat these days with, or if, for those of you that, for those that may be listening, a moat is probably a competitive advantage or with AI. And maybe I'm wrong in saying that, or is that correct? Or
Um, to build a moat in today's age, like I think in the entire Silicon Valley could probably agree with this, is like you have to build distribution nowadays because of like the technology mode is like a lot lesser than the past. Like nowadays anyone can use like cursor to code some stuff that's like, you may not be able to code in the past, but now you can use AI tool to code something like a prototype really fast, or you code some like really entry level website really fast, right? So essentially, the mode of like actually having a technical mode is becoming a lot higher, and then uh, people start to need to build like distributional mode, aka like they have to be able to build the go-to-market strategy or being able to sell, like just creating like the distributional channel for your software. So community building, events, or marketing, or general go-to-market is like the huge thing right now.
yeah, yeah, that's super interesting. The fact that distribution is the way, is that the top, is that what people are talking about quite a bit in Silicon Valley, the building distribution? And does that look like on social media, or does that look like for a company building a community and then building a product and users?
I think like social media is always the game. You can see like whenever you look at like the YC page or like on LinkedIn, every day there's like a launch video. Everybody's doing like a bunch of like social media clips, like short clips, or just essentially just like videos about like how well their company's doing, or like tweet about it, or like LinkedIn about like the progress of their company or highlighting their customers. So everybody's really more brand aware of like just like the brand awareness is like really really high basically.
Yeah, that's super fascinating. That building brand awareness and then building a product and users on the back end. Would venture capital would they be more likely to invest in someone with that's, if you don't mind me asking, that has distribution or that?
I think like having distribution and then having proven clients is one of the big things. So, do you have clients? Are you able to acquire clients? Having distribution not just means like, I posted some videos, there's a lot of people like my video. It's more of like, can you convert that into a contract? Can you convert that into a customer? Can you convert that into actual cash? So, I feel like those are the things that like, it's like, are you actually getting traction monetary wise? I think those are like the more defending characteristic than if you have like a bunch of social media follower.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Probably a paying customer is more
Mhm.
valuable than social media followers.
Mhm.
And then when you mention distribution, is that regards to brand awareness for your company, or is that the founder of team of the founding team, or?
Um, like is a brand about like the founding team, or is a brand awareness about it's about everything.
Okay, perfect.
I think it's like it's kind of like Nike, right? Like you read the Shoe Dog book, you learn about the Nike founder, and you learn about like Nike because of like you buy the shoes. So I think it's like a very well-rounded, like 360 experience from the brand. So like, yeah,
Yeah,
basically like Brex just got acquired. Brex. I'm very thankful they're one of our sponsors for our past dinners, and so essentially like their brand is created by like the founder maybe tweet about it or like LinkedIn about it, and then there's a lot of people talk about the brand, and then like they do events, they are maybe on a podcast, or like it's kind of like a collective experience of the brand itself.
yeah, yeah. That's super interesting. Just for people listening out there that may be new to sort of San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and venture capital, there you mentioned that 100x and is something to look at with a startup and if starting a business, and also distribution. When you mean distribution, are you and then paying customers, or well, paying customers first and distribution? Is that specifically on with regards to the individual or the company's distribution, or?
Yeah, the company distribution, I would say. Like, so
Okay,
eventually it's like, are you able to distribute your product? Like, it could come from like a founder distribution, aka like, Elon Musk post something on X, and like, Tesla's price go up and down. So I feel like those are correlations between the founder brand or founder distribution versus like the company itself, like, Tesla's like, sales pipeline or something.
yeah, yeah, that's super interesting. But I suppose paying customers are always more favorable. Are they in venture capital than anything
Yeah.
else?
I would say like it really depends. I do think like the vanity metrics helps. So for example, if you have like a really big following, people may like take a double look. But eventually I feel like the benchmark would be are you able to actually generate revenue from the big quote unquote distribution on social?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great. I'd also love to know, Grace, is with the AI or the introduction of AI into venture capital, has that changed a lot, or have the conversations become different in San Francisco or Silicon Valley?
Um I think AI definitely is in two degree like that's really influential in San Francisco. One is like what is everybody building, because everybody's building some sort of AI agent or agentic AI system, and so that's like a big influence. So like the context of like what people are building, so I feel like in general what people are building is always AI. The second part is like how AI is shifting venture capital. I think a lot of people are using AI tools to do a lot of like deep diligence on stuff. So for example, let's say you are looking at a company that does manufacturing, and you may not understand like how does manufacturer make money, and then like what does each kind of like step do, and then you can use like deep research or like some other AI tool like Gemini to actually understand how does like one industry work. In the past you may need like an analyst to generate like pages after pages of like a document, but nowadays like AI can just generate this information for you in like minutes instead of like days.
Yeah, yeah, definitely the speed of things have changed. And is that the same with? I know everyone's building for those that maybe don't know out there. What is specifically an agent? Is it in regards to AI?
So agent is like something that can like help you to do like stuff. So for example, in the past you may need like an assistant to help you book a flight ticket, right? Like so you may need like someone else to like look up like like United.com, look up like Delta, look at like all these different airlines, right? And then you compare price, and then you like plan a trip, and then you like do like payment for each platform, you type in a credit card, yada yada. So but now with the help of AI agent, you just like put in your credit card once, you tell them like where you want to travel to, and then the agent just help you do all the stuff. So it's like a front, like it's kind of like an end to end like solution for a problem, basically. That's like the most ideal case, right? Like a lot of the current agents are doing very specific tasks. Like a sales agent, like for example, you say, "Hey, I want 10 Series A company that's based in San Francisco that does like $10 million in revenue," and you just put that request into an agent, and then the agent can like just like research online and they give you like an answer of like here 10 company that's does exactly whatever you're looking for. So basically the AI agent can help you do stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's it. Seems like it's going to make life a lot easier for people.
Hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. Is there any words of wisdom or in regards to using agents or recommendations in using agents or?
I think agents still like very new, though like every industry is building agents, like in particular. I would say there is a few thoughts around there. One is like agent just like there's I don't think there is like a really end to end solution for this yet. So like I think a lot of people are building agents, but it was not quite successful. Whether it's because of like there's fraud prevention, there is like company level of like the privacy level from different departments. So like you can't really transform a file from this to that, or just like there's a lot of like kind of challenge around the AI agent ecosystem. So like that's the most ideal case scenario is like you put in your credit card information once, and then this thing can does everything for you. But in reality, a lot of times people are still building it. And then nowadays, like in Silicon Valley, another term that's like really, really penetrating hard is like agent orchestration. So like basically essentially there's AI agent that manage AI agent. So like there's like an AI engineer that can does your coding for you to manage other AI agents that does like AI engineering. So basically essentially there's like an agent orchestration on like who is managing what. So like that's like another really popular term around Silicon Valley as well.
Yeah, that's great. Is there a number of companies that you use? You don't have to shout them out, or this isn't sponsored, but is there any ones that you use that you'd recommend?
I think the most simple AI agent would be like just like literally ChatGPT, right? Like it's not like agent, but like it's kind of like the more chat experience. So like in the past, maybe you would go on like a Google or like some sort of search engine, and then but now you can just like put in the specific problem, and then the solution will just really pop up. So I feel like that's definitely one. And in terms of like what specific tool, I would say like Clay.coms are very popular in Silicon Valley. And recently I'm just like started like using Lightfield, which is like another sales tool. I'm doing a podcast with the founder on Thursday IRL in San Francisco at their office. And then Gamma is like a I would say like a perfect tool as well. So it's basically help you write the decks. You just like literally like put in your idea and then generate into like a pitch deck or like PowerPoint and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know if that's like classified as an agent, but for me it is an agent. It's kind of like a agent that does your PowerPoint, right?
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's great. That's a number of tools I have to check out after the show over this week
Yeah.
or today or this week. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Grace. I, I suppose a few more questions because I think we have 10 minutes left,
Hmm.
or about just under 10 minutes. I'd love to know if you have any career advice for anyone looking to get into what you're doing, maybe VC previously, which, and I'd love to know maybe in podcasts, getting started with podcasts or whatever best career advice you have. I'd love to know.
I think in terms of like getting into venture, a lot of it is like I think for younger people it's sourcing, and then for obviously there's like, the entire process including like sourcing, due diligence, winning, and exiting. And I would say like in terms of like younger people, typically everybody just source means like you just find the deal, right? Like where you have to build like some sort of like subject expertise for you to be like an expert in like a particular domain for you to source the best deal. That's like one way of sourcing. The other part is you can be the most active person in any kind of social group, so or like any demographics. That's like you have a specific edge to. So for example, sourcing could be like you went to a specific school that's perfectly for engineering, and then you just source a bunch of deal from there. Or you are a passionate person about like fintech slash crypto, and then you just source a bunch of deal from that particular sector because you go to all these events, you kind of build up your network there, or you work at like a fintech startup and you kind of like know all your friends who are starting company. So essentially, I would say breaking in a lot of times is just sourcing. If you're like sending in, let's say, two deal per day, and then like one day the VC invests in one of the deals, they may just like hire you basically.
Yeah, that's fascinating. It seems like you have to do a lot of is it would it be well right in saying you have to do a lot of groundwork to get into VC? Is there a lot of
I would say
conversations to be had?
there, yeah, for
Or
sure. I feel like there's definitely a lot of hustle, and yeah,
yeah, you mentioned that there's I think I can't remember the word off the top of my head. Sorry, excuse me. I'll come back to it. But I'd love to know maybe for podcasting as well. Is there any recommendations you'd give for maybe even or general career advice?
I would say podcasting. Like, man, I literally just like every time I measure I'm doing a podcast is like I'm having a Zoom call. Basically, it's like I be saying the same thing if I'm like on a Zoom call, but more deeper because people have more patience with me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Yeah, I
great.
feel like it's just like I feel like a lot of underthinking just lead to success as like instead of like overthinking or overcomplicating on stuff, I just like kind of like think as it goes basically.
Yeah, underthinking. I've never heard that term before. That's a great.
I
That's a
know,
great.
yeah, I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it just come to my mind. I feel like I was such a yeah, I think about stuff or I do a bunch of stuff all the time, so I kind of like it's just auto prank program into my mind to underthink stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's great. Yeah, yeah. And lastly, I suppose, is there anywhere or is there any one podcast that you get someone to maybe check out if they're looking to learn more about you and your story or maybe what you're doing?
Yeah, so my podcast is called Venture with Grace, and then I have another podcast called Smart Venture Podcast. Venture with Grace is just like updating daily, so I just stream on LinkedIn every day, every weekday. So tomorrow, I believe it's with the founder of Beacon. Beacon's AI. Beacons is like the kind of like the link that you use for as a creator on like social media.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're really cool.
nice. That's great. Yeah, yeah. And how's it? I suppose how's it like having two podcasts versus one? Is it a bit more challenging or?
I think I prioritize one, which is like the live podcast, and then I used to do the more still podcast, but I feel like podcasts, I love like reading people's comments, or sometimes like they ask better questions than me, and then I'd be like highlighting their question for the guest to answer. So I feel
Yeah,
like there's a lot more engagement, and like people loves it because people can like really ask questions in real time that like they probably won't be able to ask anywhere else, and then you also kind of like you don't have to like rewatch yourself like 10,000 times basically. That's like another benefit of like life. But I do feel like the recorded podcast gives you a lot more, um like I would say, mental easiness, as like, you don't have to worry about what you're gonna say, basically.
Yeah, yeah. The that's a great follow up to underthinking the mental easiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And yeah, I think that's nearly everything. Is there anything that we haven't talked about, Grace, that you'd love to maybe mention or?
I think we talk a lot, and like I feel like I'm just because I'm majorly mostly in your seats. Though I did when I like went to podcasts every week, I feel like I'm on like other people's podcasts as well. But yeah, I think we cover a lot of stuff, and yeah, I feel like you're doing great. It seems like I will check out your podcast on like, Fort Motors or some other like really interesting brand, because I actually have no idea how Croc was built. So
Yeah, yeah, it's a good
yeah.
story. It's a good story. Feel free to go back and check it out.
Yeah.
And is there any words of wisdom you give to your younger self, or maybe if 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
Yeah, I feel like this changes every year, but this year I feel like a lot of times like I was just on a webinar. I was giving a talk to all these like Gen Z LinkedIn warriors, and I feel like the idea I gave them is like just post immediately, because like a lot of people are just overthinking stuff, and it just like their stuff was never getting post. And I feel like you just need to like, from the idea to execution, it should be like minutes, not days. So you should literally just like, if you have an idea, or like whether it's an app, whether it's like a company, whether it's like applying a job or like doing something else, you need to do immediately. Otherwise, I feel like if you wait, there's always like, a chance that you just don't do it. So I feel like turning things into motion is like the biggest thing for success.
Yeah. Wow, that's a great piece of that's a great takeaway. That turning into just getting going and turning things into motion is a great
Yeah,
recipe of
seriously. I
success.
think
Yeah.
you're doing great on this, because I think we just like, I think you asked me, hey, like, want to come on this thing, and then like we immediately book a time, and then now we're on like within like what, 48 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like this is like, yeah, this is the definition of like being like fast and stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. I think we've covered everything. I know that people can find you on LinkedIn. Is there anywhere else where people could reach out and maybe?
Yeah, I'm everywhere. Literally,
Yeah,
I'm not that hard to find. I'm Grace Gong CEO on Instagram, Grace Gong GG on Twitter, Grace Gong CEO on YouTube, and Chris Concio on TikTok, I think. And I'm mostly on LinkedIn, just literally every day. Yeah, it's just only my name, Grace Gone.
yeah, yeah. Perfect. People can buy your book on Amazon as well, or they can find you
Yeah,
on.
they can find the books on Amazon, and yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think just I want to acknowledge you for coming on the show, Grace. Thanks a mil. You mentioned the 48-hour turnaround. It's been quick, but
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ryan. I
yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
you
yeah,
as well.
yeah. No, it's been great.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
it's 24 hours. I don't know.
maybe it's 24 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's so many takeaways that I think a big one for me is just getting things in motion straight away, and that aspect
Yeah,
of
you're doing
speed. And
great, because you're podcasting like 3 times a day.
yeah, I need to go
You
out
put
and
in this
other
TikTok. I'm
areas of
like,
life, and yeah, yeah.
wow.
Thanks, Emil Grace. I think we're coming up on the
Time.
on time now, but yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully I'll get this uploaded today, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm like excited to turn into the other episodes on your podcast.
yeah. Thanks, Grace.
Thank you, Ryan.
Take it easy. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.